Alright folks, before we take this rifle down, the very first thing you want to do is practice safety, and we're going to make sure we do a battery check. We want to make sure the magazine is out of the mag well, and we're going to pull the bolt handle back. We're going to check down inside, make sure nothing's down inside, looks to be clear. Make sure we got it pointed in a safe direction. Pull the trigger, make sure there's nothing in there before we take this down. That is the very first step on a disassembling any firearm. Alright folks, so we're going to get this rifle disassembled. We're going to get it reassembled. I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet, but yet you'll be able to follow along, and hopefully it's detailed enough for you. That way if you forget how something goes back on, after watching this video, you should not be in that boat. So the only tools we're going to need is the one that High Point supplies. You got 2 points here. I'll show you what that's for. You have 2 hex holes here, and then you have this end here, and what this end is for sighting in the rifle. I also am going to be using a 5/64 Allen key, and then I just got a really light hammer and a punch, and I'll show you why we're going to use that as well. But let's get started. So we're going to take this tool, we're going to use the smallest hole in the tool, and we're going to start to unscrew the bolt handle. And we got that off. We're going to set that off to the side. The next step is you have a locking lever right here for this upper piece shroud here. So we're going to take the slotted end from our High Point tool, and we're going to stick it in that slot right here, and we're going to rotate back. We're going to flip it backwards. We're going to remove this shroud. Now this shroud's kind of tight in there, so don't be concerned. You got to kind of pull on it, and it comes off. Now the next step we're going to do is we're going to remove your barrel end cap. It's threaded, and it's the correct rotation of threads. And we're going to put that off to the side. Next, we're going to have to remove our front sight, and that's where our 5/64 Allen key comes in. These will also, over time, come loose on you as you use this rifle from the research that I did. So every once in a while, or maybe after your range day or after plinking, you're going to want to re-tighten these. I suppose you could put Loctite, blue Loctite, not red. I'd maybe use some blue Loctite and get those seated in, and then just check your tightness every once in a while so you can stay true once you get this sighted in. We're going to take those, back them off. You don't have to take them all the way out, and that will pull forward just like that. Now when we reassemble it, we're going to have this elevation screw here that'll adjust your elevation up and down. That'll face forward. Then what we need to do is you have these 2 takedown pins right here, and your tool is going to come in handy as well. I've seen some videos where they say the rear one is really tight in there and it's hard to come off, but I'll show you an easy way. You have 2 holes right here. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a hole here and there's a hole here. And what we're going to do again is we're going to use the pointy part of our tool, and we're going to stick it in both holes. And what we need to do is on the back side of this rifle, you can push that pin, and that pin's going to have to push while you rotate that pin. and you roll it back. That pin will come out. We're going to do the same on this side. We're going to push the pin from the back side toward this little catch and roll it back. That pin will come out as well. Shouldn't be a struggle. When we put this back together, we're going to want to make sure these big holes are exposed to get our pin back through that other side. Then we should be able to pull the top part of the upper receiver shroud off, and we're going to set that off to the side. So now we need to take our receiver and barrel assembly off of the bottom part of the rifle. Alright, there's a collar here, and we need to move that towards the front of the rifle. Now sometimes you can use your tool and you can grab that little latch right here and push it forward. We'll see if we can do that here. And if for some reason you're kind of struggling with it, you can take a light hammer and a punch. You're not gonna beat the snot out of it. You're just gonna kind of tap it forward, and that'll come right off. And we're gonna set that off to the side. That will allow us to remove our barrel and receiver. So now we're gonna stick this whole shroud to the side, and I'm gonna show you how to take this slide off. Now, as you can see, there's a collar right here as well, and that we're gonna have to move toward the rear of our receiver. And what that's gonna do is allow this pin right here. What this does is it's a retaining pin that holds the springs in for your firing pin. So we got to move this forward so this will sit in here when it's done. And that's the same thing. Sometimes you can take the tool and you can push it forward, and if it doesn't go, then I'll just simply persuade it a little bit lightly with our punch, catch it in the corner there, and that'll allow it to go toward the rear of the receiver. Now what we're going to do is we're going to pull this barrel retaining piece. We're going to put that off to the side, and we're going to slide our receiver backwards, and we're going to lift up. This is spring loaded because it has your buffer spring in there and your retainers and all that stuff. So we're going to make sure that this is toward the rear of the receiver. We're going to hang on to our barrel, and we're going to pull back. You may have to contort your hands, and that is going to allow this receiver to travel down the barrel. Now what just fell out was the buffer spring and the buffer, and then here is that pin that holds your spring in for your firing pin. Now if this should happen to fall out, how that's going to go in is it's just going to simply, this pointy part is going to simply go into the back of the receiver, and that's going to hold your firing pin springs in. You tip it over, your firing pin springs come out. There's two of them. The little one goes into the big one, and then we have our firing pin. So to take it down any further, I'm not going to do that today. This should be all you need to do to clean this rifle. And if you go down any further, some guys will put in a new trigger group, all that stuff. I'm not going to do that. I'm not really going to get into modifying videos just because of YouTube standards. So now we're going to get this back together again, step by step, and hopefully it goes simple for you. Alright folks, let's get this thing reassembled. So now we're going to take our firing pin, needle side, we're going to find the back of the receiver, and we're going to send that down, needle side down. Then we're going to take our two springs, remember the small one and the big one? Small one goes inside the big one. We're going to send that down. Then we're going to take this firing pin spring retaining pin with the pointy side, and that is going to go into the hole just like that, and it's just going to hold there. Now remember, our collar is going to have to be pushed all the way back. Now what we're going to do before we slide this receiver through the barrel is we got to take our buffer spring and our buffer. Now if this buffer comes out, it'll only go into the spring one way. It accepts it here, but it's small on this end, it won't accept it there. That is going to feed in between our barrel and bottom receiver. So just underneath the barrel, we're going to slide it in that hole, take our receiver. Now remember, these components are in there, so don't let those fall out. We're going to slide the barrel through here, and then we're going to grab it in a fashion where we're going to pop this back inside there so it don't come out. We're going to make sure that we grab it correctly, just like so. Alright, so while we have that, make sure that collar is pulled all the way back, and then our pin is going to go down in that hole. And it's all kind of one motion, just like so. And that should be the way it should look. Now we push that collar back toward the front of the rifle. Now you can push it with your tool if you want. If you want to take your punch and your light hammer and just kind of make sure it's all the way back until you hear that solid steel sound. Now that's in place. It should be right up against this little curved piece on your lower receiver. Then we're going to take our barrel collar and slide that over the barrel, and that sits right on that little notch right there. Okay, now we can place our unit inside of the shroud of the rifle. We're going to probably have it angled up so it sits in there like that. And now we can take our collar for this shroud and we're going to slide it to the rear of the rifle. Now mine slides pretty good because it's broken in already, but if yours is not and it's new, just take your punch, lightly send it home. Alright, so now we get to put our sight shroud on top of the rifle. Now keep in mind there's a curved bracket that curves up. So what we got to do when we put this on is we have to angle that up, and then that will slide right down and seat just like that. Now remember our swivels here? We have to have the big hole exposed. So we want to make sure that that's seated that way. And we're going to take our pins from the back side, okay? And we're going to want to feed them through, just like that. And now these pins have a little notch right down there. So what they're going to do, the reason we have to push them, they're spring loaded, the reason we have to push them is we're going to take our tool again We're going to take the pointy side of our tool, stick it in the two holes while we're pushing the pin, and we're going to roll it forward while you're pushing on the pin. Do the same thing here. We're going to put our pointy side of our tool in, roll it forward, and it's in. Then we take the upper part of our shroud with this notch toward the back of the rifle. We're going to stick that in, make sure it's seated all the way back, push that on, done. Then we're on to the front sight. The front sight has an adjustment screw for your elevation, for your up and down when you're sighting in the rifle. That's going to face forward. That's going to slide in there. We're going to take our Allen screw. Now this is where you could put blue Loctite in if you wanted to make sure it holds. It's all up to you. Depends how often you're going to take this off or if you're going to put any accessories on. Now High Point recommends not cleaning this rifle until about 400 or 500 rounds. I'd have to look at my manual. Then we take our end cap. We're going to screw that on. That's on. Then we're down back to, remember step one, when we took this apart, we stick our bolt handle back on, take our tool, tighten that up, and your rifle is reassembled. Now you're going to want to test it. You're going to want to make sure that it's functional. Rack it back, make sure the safe works, and it functions. Your rifle is now completely reassembled. Alright folks, hopefully this video helped you on taking this down and putting it back together. If you could let me know in the comments if it helped you. I wanted to keep it simple, direct, without any added jumbo in there or tactical stuff. I just wanted it to help you, and that's the point of these videos that I do. If you go through all the rest of my videos, they're there to help. That's my passion, is to help others. There's things I had to learn, and I was a new shooter one time, and if you're a new shooter or you're new to this world or whatever, I just want you to be comfortable. And get you educated as much as we can. So anyway, in another video that I'm going to do on this rifle, it's going to have parts from Long Shot Manufacturing on it. Those guys are the real deal. In the description, you're going to see Long Shot Manufacturing, how to get to their website. They're good friends of ours. And then use coupon code Patriot72. That gets you 10% off of all the products there. So again, Long Shot Manufacturing, see the description below. Please like, please subscribe, check out our other videos and leave comments on them. Let me know if that helped, and we'll see you soon. Thank you. God bless America, and God bless the Republic. Take care.